So again, thank you so much for joining me on the Community Ledger. I want to jump in and speak about what is happening in New York City with Mayor Eric Adams. He has had a conversation with Trump since he was elected. He made a phone call not only to congratulate, but I think, they working on some things, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and play you the video now so we can get into it.
To the White House is expected to have ramifications, not just around the country, but right here as in the city as well. Moments ago, Mayor Adams spoke out on the results of the election, and Morgan McKay joining us now live from City Hall. Morgan, what was his reaction, and was it surprising to you?
Bianca, Mayor Eric Adams started first by congratulating President-elect Donald Trump and incoming Vice President J.D. Vance. He says he hasn't spoken to Trump yet, but does plan to call him soon. He says that he respects the process and Americans made their voices heard last night. But he also answered questions about what this incoming administration means for migrants and vaccines. So first on migrants, the city's Immigrant Affairs Commissioner Manuel Castro says that talking about mass deportations only cause panic. City officials say that they are focused on protecting immigrant communities, but when it comes to migrants that are currently in our city shelters, Adams does not say whether he would like to see migrants move to other states in a decompression strategy like he was pushing for under the Biden administration, or if he'd be looking to the federal government to cut cities like New York a check to help care for some of these migrants. But again, city officials not commenting on any questions about deportations, telling people to not create panic over something that might not happen. Adams did emphasize that he would like to see changes to the city's sanctuary city policies by allowing ICE to cooperate with law enforcement when it comes to migrants who have committed crimes. And on the city and state's vaccine policies and women's access to reproductive rights, city officials say that they believe that's a states' rights issue, and they will continue to set the policy there.
We need a decompression strategy at the border to make sure that we take control of this crisis and not have this crisis take control of us. There's great opportunities if we give people the right to work, and I remain calling for that.
Now, the NYPD says they are prepared to protect people's rights to peacefully protest, but there will be no tolerance for any violence or crime. Reporting live from outside City Hall, and Morgan McKay. Bianca, back to you.
Okay, so as you see there, Eric Adams is trying to figure out exactly what he is going to do about all these migrants in the city. Now, he's talking about what he's calling decompression versus deportation, to where I guess maybe you gather them up and then kind of spread them out to other cities, because he has been complaining about the financial burden that all of these immigrants have had on the city, and that got him in some trouble. Me personally, I believe that he is being indicted by the federal government because he bucked the system. Democrats did not want him complaining. They just wanted him to take these people and do what you got to do. I know that he was asking Biden to submit some more funding so that the state of New York could pay for this, and they weren't getting any help. And so, it really put a strain on New York City. And I just found out today that they are going to remove their food assistance program. Apparently, they've been giving all of these migrants food vouchers so that they could go ahead and buy food for themselves and their family that is more culturally sound versus what is provided, I guess, in shelters here in the States, and they're ending that. So not only are they trying to close a lot of these shelters and remove these people out of the shelters, now they are eliminating these food vouchers. So they're making it very obvious that they're not going to be accommodating anymore. They're not going to be accommodating this mass amount of migrant, population in Manhattan. But we do have another video that I want to play for you where he's talking about eliminating those food vouchers.
Adams today, and today he's joining us live on Eyewitness News.
Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We want to start.
Good to see you both.
Yes, great to see you too. We want to start with your decision late this afternoon to end that food voucher program for immigrants. What led to this decision, and why now?
Well, it was an emergency contract for a sunsetting 1 year. That was what it was in place for 1 year. Now have moved away from emergency response because we have had a constant decrease in our population, and now we're going to the procurement process that we do now for food. But we've been successful with that program. We brought down food waste. We were able to get several thousand individuals to have culturally sensitive food at the same time, and it was successful for the time being. And now we move into the general putting out the RFPs that are needed. It was an emergency, and now we're moving in another direction.
Funding, of course, the big issue surrounding the city, and has been the big issue surrounding your tenure to some degree. Let's talk about some other crucial issues, though. You talked yesterday to President-elect Trump. What did you talk about, and did it involve any funding for New York City, or perhaps lack of funding?
Well, I've been very consistent about private conversations. I don't go into them, but I'm clear. I'm here to fight on behalf of this city. You can't hold your breath and wait 4 years before you start bringing back those resources to the city. We have a new president, and I'm going to collaborate with his administration to deal with some pressing issues that face in our city, particularly around funding. When you look at the billions of dollars we spent with the migrants and asylum seekers, we got very little help from the federal government, and I think it's imperative that we engage on the right foot to say New York needs infrastructure, affordability, and other big-ticket items.
Well, Mayor, speaking of the new president, do you think the Trump presidency will have an impact on your federal case? Are you hoping the charges will be dropped? We do know that he said that you were being unfairly targeted because of your criticism of the Biden administration's immigration policy. What are your thoughts on that? And have you spoken to Trump about this?
No, I did not. And I've been extremely clear that I've done nothing wrong, and I have competent attorneys that are going to handle that case. My job is to do what I was elected to do, and that's fight on behalf of New Yorkers. And anyone who conflate the two just really don't know who I've been for the last 30 plus years as a public servant, from police officer to an elected official. I'm going to fight and defend this city. This city deserves that, and that is what I'm going to continue to do.
Okay. And just quickly, Mayor, are you hoping that he drops the charges?
My attorney, anything that's dealing with my case, I have an excellent attorney that can handle those questions. I have to answer the questions of how to move the city forward, and I'm not going to allow anything to get in the way of that.
We'll call the lawyer later tonight and ask him the questions. I do want to talk to you a little bit more about financial assistance. You were quite critical of the lack of financial assistance President Biden didn't help fund. The flood of migrants coming into New York. It's hard to imagine Donald Trump's going to, in all honesty, Mayor, going to boost any funding to pay for that. And in fact, he may order them out of the country, as we well know. People who live here and work here, and their children are going to school here in the public schools. Mr. Mayor, let's talk about that cost of all that and what your hopes are for Mr. Trump.
Well, first we need to deal with the reality. Over 220,000 migrants and asylum seekers came to the city, and we spent billions of taxpayers' dollars to take care of this issue, as well as other cities, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles. When you look at those tax dollars not going to the residents of those cities to deal with the crucial issues we had to face coming out of COVID, I found that troubling, and I was clearly vociferous about it. But this is a sanctuary city. I think that the modification that was last made under the previous administration was the wrong modification. When it was put in place under Koch and under Bloomberg, it had a different concept. I don't believe people who come to the city and create violent crimes should not remain in the city, and we should have the right, after they serve their time, to turn them over to ICE. But we're going to continue to do the role. This is a city of immigrants, and many people are here undocumented. We want them to continue to know that their police department, their hospitals, and the educational system is going to be here to provide what we've provided for years.
Okay, that's the nature of a sanctuary city. Agree with that.
And Mr. Mayor, you announced a lawsuit against a vaping company. How big of a...
So you hear Eric Adams speaking a little spicy. He is speaking a little spicy. He's saying he did not approve of the policies surrounding sanctuary cities under the Biden administration. and he did not agree with how all of that was set up. And Trump said he's trying to do away with all of those sanctuary cities. I think Mayor Adams is feeling a little bit more secure, being more vocal about his displeasure and his disagreement with regards to this sanctuary city setup, because now that he knows that Biden's on his way out. And he's going to be a new DOJ and all of these things. This is going to be an interesting partnership to watch over the coming months, because Trump will need Eric Adams to assist him with deporting all of these people if he is going to stand firm on the promises that he made during the campaign. However, Eric Adams is going to need Trump. If he needs, he's going to want Trump to, and his Department of Justice to eradicate those indictments. It's going to be kind of one of those things, one hand washes the other. Like, I can do this in New York. It's going to be great for Trump's career or his first term to just say, listen, I was able to deport all of these people. I was able to clean up New York City. And we did it in concert and in partnership with a Democratic mayor. That's going to look incredibly good for Trump. And on the other side of that, if he is able to do this with Eric Adams is probably going to ask Trump for a favor in regards to making that making those indictments go away under the new Department of Justice. So this is definitely going to be a partnership where both parties will benefit. And it, like I said, it's going to be interesting to watch. I have been watching what is happening for quite some time in Manhattan. Like I said, I know that they were closing a lot of those shelters because they wanted to start to eradicate a lot of the people that were dependent on the shelter system. And now they're canceling the food vouchers. And then the next tier of that is Trump's inauguration. So it is going to be a sight to see. It is definitely going to be a sight to see. So what say you? What's your opinion? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Trump is actually going to deport all of these people? Or do you think it's going to be a little bit more like what Eric Adams says, which is going to be a decompression where they move a lot of these immigrants to other cities so that they can kind of allow them to stay here, but spread them out a little bit more so they're not concentrated in areas like Colorado, New York, and Chicago. And so, like I said, if you are enjoying this commentary, please do subscribe. It costs nothing, and I definitely appreciate it. So again, thank you so much for joining me. My name is Andrea Banu, and this is the Community Ledger.